Hi, everybody. It's meteorologist Joe Chaffee as we take a look at this nor'easter. And I want to start this off. First off, please, if you're new here or you're a regular and you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's absolutely free. You'll get a notification when the videos come up, and it really helps me out a lot. I really would appreciate it. And thank you, everybody, for being here. I want to look at this nor'easter, and what I've done is I put up this Canadian model run. And if you remember, I've made several mentions to the fact that the Canadian hasn't been right in the long range since either the Crimean War or the Battle of Hastings. And this is from the run from 2 days ago. And this is where the Canadian, one of the things that it did on this run was that if you notice, there's double lows here. You've got the low back in southeastern Alabama. There's a bit of a warm front, and you've got a second low that forms in North Carolina. That wound up going out. You still had some lower pressures back to the southwest, but eventually it organized it into one low, and it showed snow along the coast, which at the time seemed incredibly far-fetched to me. It also tried to build down that cold high down to the north. You know where I'm going with this. I imagine at this point you've kind of figured it out. And it produced a swath of big snows along the coast. Now, the new GFS today, and I started to see a few hints of it overnight and this morning. And my one of my forecasting and good friends and actually very good friend, Alan Casper, who I worked with for many, many years, we were discussing this just a little while ago because he picked up on it with respect to the NAM. And watch the new GFS. Now, I want you to know that this is, I'm still having a little bit of a difficult time with this, but a couple of things are happening. One is this cold high to the north is pressing down at low levels. You've got this blocking pattern, and blocks on models tend to break down faster than reality, and it's really holding on. So what happens is that you've got cold air that bleeds down, and now suddenly you've got snow not that far inland from the coast, and some sleet too. So it's sleet and wet snow here as you go north and northwest. And what's happening is, if you look, there is a lead low that goes out right here. This is for Sunday night. We start to get into some rain. The main low is still back in central Tennessee. That low goes out, and what it does is it drags down a little bit of cold air as it goes out, so that when the main low gets going, it's in a colder environment, and that high is still pressing in. So now here comes the main low for Monday and Monday night, and suddenly you've got all this frozen precipitation and freezing precipitation not that far north and west of the coast. And I have to tell you, I mean, it's still, I think, a long shot to see that cold air bleed down even further. But you know what? I've seen stranger things happen, so I'm going to be curious to see what the European does with all this. And then it lifts on out to the northeast, and we wait then for the next cold front to arrive, which will start the process of changing the pattern overall. When we look at what this winds up producing, there's still going to be some strong winds and some heavy rains, but maybe not of the magnitude of what was being shown earlier, because the profile of this whole event seems to be changing. We still have, if you look here, this is the GFS showing the 10-meter winds, and during the day on Monday into Monday night, it's still showing every bit of 40 to 50 knot sustained winds touching the New Jersey coast and touching the south shore of Long Island, and then over Long Island Monday night into Tuesday morning. So it still says that we're going to get nor'easter conditions. I'm just trying to absorb all this as it moves on out. Maybe the upper air can give us a clue, so we'll take a look at that and see what that says to us, and we'll punch it back. But there it is, that upper low, and it's much further to the south. This is very important, and as it lifts up northeastward from there, if it does something like this, I have to tell you, this is going to make things a little more interesting for a larger portion of the area from eastern Pennsylvania down even into south central Pennsylvania and then northeastward from there as it lifts on out to the northeast. I'm going to be very, very curious to see what the NAM does with all. I'm sorry, what the European does with all this. Look at the difference in the snowfall, and I'll put the tighter map here in the Northeast. This is the new GFS snowfall map, just to give you perspective what we've gone from. I'll show you the last couple of runs. Barely a coating to a few inches well to the north, and then you notice on the next run, it kind of pulled the coating down a little further south, and you've got heavy snows up to the north, which is kind of what you expect. And when I saw last night's run and saw this was kind of in line with what the Canadian did. And now we have the new run, which actually has 4 to 6 inch snows, and even printing out a 1 foot plus marker down into northeastern Pennsylvania. Look how far south these snows go down into north central Maryland, south central PA, north central Maryland, up into northern Virginia. And now the coating line is down to the coast, just down to New York City, to just north of Trenton, just north of Philadelphia, just north of Baltimore, and then continuing from there. I'm a little bit bewildered and a little bit dumbfounded by all this. It's amazing how winters play out, and I try and explain this to people who are so obsessed with the long range that you can't live and die by those things, by the long range, because there's just way too many variables in the atmosphere. And I have to tell you that I want to emphasize it'd be still a long shot to bring it down further to the coast, but I've seen stranger things happen. So let's see how this all plays out. But in the meantime, with respect to the nor'easter and nor'easter conditions, everything seems to be moving on schedule here. Let me see how much out of the longer range do we have at this point. I know we probably don't have enough of the Canadian to see. We'll take a look right now and see how that goes. First, we'll try the Canadian. Well, the Canadian is out to 90 hours. The Canadian, let's see, it still tries to have that lead low go out. Okay, so this is Sunday night, and now we're into still very early Monday morning with a deep low in southeastern North Carolina. You can see that high to the north. It's trying to press in. How does this compare with the GFS? Let's switch back. So the GFS for the same time frame, the GFS is colder. All right, this is the first time in this model sequences of the GFS European and Canadian where the GFS is actually becoming the colder run. So we'll have to see how this plays out as we go through this. Meanwhile, I just want to point out you have this big storm coming out into the west, the big snows in California and more drought-breaking rains that goes into the Rockies. That's going to be the system that starts the process of changing the whole pattern to colder as the block begins to break down. And we're out now to late next week, and we're starting to see a much colder look here toward the end of next week. But remember, as I've been saying in the long range, it's going to probably take a while for the bottom part of the atmosphere to cool off because of the fact that the temperatures in Canada are not all that cold, at least initially. So it may take several days after. This is next Thursday, January 26th. So it may take several more days and a couple of more polar fronts to come on through to actually cool down the bottom of the atmosphere. So you know what? We'll leave it here with what we've got and see where it goes. We'll check the European model out yet later today. I'll have posts on my website, so make sure you check those out. And download my app, subscribe to my forecast for New York, New Jersey, Long Island, Connecticut, Hudson Valley, and Eastern Pennsylvania. Link is going to come up here right now. And it's a free download for your iPhone or your Android. 99 cents a month for the forecasts. Cheaper than a cup of coffee. And you get me. You get me and my thoughts and satellite radars and maps and much more. You don't get icons that are computer generated. Because that to me, Uh, that to me over the long haul is not a very effective way to view weather forecasting on an app. But that's my opinion. Okay, so everybody have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.